used in this jar. I've experimented with quite a few different grains, but the one I've had the most success with is popcorn. Yes, popcorn. Popcorn kernels. I rehydrate them I put them in a rice cooker with some water, and while it's cooking, I put 1 shot of unflavored corn syrup in it. The bottle of corn syrup, it's I think McCormick or something. It's the cheap brand. It says that it has vanilla extract in it, and it does, and it's not going to affect anything. You really can't get corn syrup without vanilla extract. I tried, like I was curious when I went to buy corn syrup for the first time because, it said get unflavored corn syrup in the guide. And I was like, this says it has vanilla. Don't worry about it. It's fine. You're going to have to special order corn syrup without anything else in it. And the vanilla doesn't hurt anything. So you're fine. Trust me. And I just wanted to say that unless anyone watching this is like me and they want to be very specific, they want to follow instructions to a T, so they drive themselves crazy over one detail, like this corn syrup says it has vanilla extract. That's going to destroy my whole operation. No, it's fine. It's vanilla extract. It's just vanilla and alcohol. But in the moment, I'm like, if you're like me, you overthink it. So, just letting people out there know. So, popcorn kernels, rehydrated in a rice cooker with a shot of corn syrup. That's Drizzy corn. I learned it from the Golden Teacher, or the Philly Teacher. He's a YouTuber. He's really great. He's who I watch to get my start. You should check him out if you're curious. You want to learn more about growing. I'm going to try to give you as much information as I can, but he's been doing it a lot longer, and he's got a great channel, so I more than recommend going to check him out. And I do believe it's the Philly Teacher, and I started with the Broke Boy Method. He has a playlist just called the Broke Boy Method, and that starts with 100% whole grain brown rice, and it works really well as well, but this is faster, like a lot faster. I've had brown rice grain jars that took 2 or 3 months. I've kept one for 4 months, and it took that long to fully colonize, where the Drizzy corn, it can fully colonize in less than 2 weeks. That half-gallon jar over here was full the same way this one is full, and it colonized in 2 weeks. And it was the same strain as what's over there, that thing in that tub. It's growing so fast over there. I am excited to see how it goes. So, it's fun. This stuff is the mycelium is so thick that it's just one piece in there. There's a couple of kernels floating around like you can see, but if you could feel the jar and feel the grain going back and forth, it's like a solid piece being held together by mycelium. And you can watch it grow in real time. And to me, that is just so cool. It's so exciting to watch it colonize these grain jars. So even if you don't want to start a business or anything like that, maybe you just like the way mushrooms taste and you want to grow some to use in your kitchen, I highly recommend it. It's a fun hobby. So just have fun with it. And there's so many different kinds of mushrooms you can grow. It's insane. They're like the oldest thing on earth pretty much. So there's just so much of it. It's been evolving for hundreds of millions of years. And we're just helping it here in the short time we have as humans. We can help it out a little bit and it can help us. What are we doing? Oh yeah, grain to bulk to grain transfer. Something I didn't show off in the last stream that I really should have, but I'll take care of that right now. 5-gallon buckets. These things, you want to get a few of them if you do want to get into the hobby. I have 4 of them. The good ones are the Lowe's ones. I got these white ones from Walmart just because I needed a couple extra, 5-gallon buckets. They work, they seal. You're not going to get contamination from it being unsealed. They're cheap and they suck. Like this one doesn't even have a handle anymore because it was so cheap that it just kind of broke off. The metal was like tin, just bent like a paper clip. And I was like, I'm not going to reattach that. I can just manhandle it. So this is my substrate in here. That's why you should get some 5-gallon buckets. I pasteurize my substrate in here. It's not real pasteurization. It doesn't stay at the boiling temperature long enough to sterilize the bucket, but it does a good enough job that you can use it just fine, as long as you have healthy grain jars. If you don't have healthy grain jars, you got nothing. So the substrate in here is cocoa coir, vermiculite, and ginseng. That's the only 3 ingredients. The substrates are super easy to make. I'm going to get into making more technical or complex, however you want to label it, substrate, so I can get larger yields from the mushrooms I'm growing for triple G hemp. But as a hobbyist, cocoa coir, vermiculite, and ginseng will work just fine. Gypsum. Ugh. Bad at pronouncing things. So, I gotta go get a tub. I'll be right back. I can't believe I forgot this. Okay, I'm back. Right next to the farm, like right over there directly on the other side of that wall, I have a canopy set up, a 9x9. So it's a pretty good bit of room. And that's where I have my pressure cookers and my rice cooker and just a bunch of my equipment I need to get things ready to come into here. So that's where this was, so I had to just pop over there and get it real quick. We're going to start where every step of the mushroom growing process should start with sanitization. So I'm going to grab some gloves, some alcohol, I might have some peroxide around here. Going to take off my jewelry. Should have done it before, but I'm new to this. This is my little jewelry holder for when I do have to transfer grain to bulk. Put this stuff on my little bucky. Boom. Jewelry secure. Now this bracelet here is actually pretty special to me. My friend Marielle, she gave it to me when she got back from Mexico before she moved back to Mexico. So I really, try to take care of this thing, so I gotta take it off. When she gave it to me, the way you would tie it around your wrist, I was too much of a doofus to figure it out. So what I did is I got this right here, and I just tied the rope to it, and this little thing here is a knife. It's a little knife you can keep on your wrist. Whenever I made the modifications to this bracelet and showed it to Marielle, her face was like, because I had it on my wrist and I popped it. It's like, yeah. Her face like, oh, that was pretty cool. I think about that pretty often. That's a good memory. Your gloves. Got 91% alcohol here, and I got hand sanitizer, which is, once it got halfway down, I just filled it back up with this, so it's basically just 91% alcohol, diluted a little bit. You want to get up your arm, because spores and contaminants and all that stuff, it sticks to you. And you're going to be working over the tub when you're transferring it, and gravity and stuff. So whatever could be on your forearm can fall into the tub while you're working on it and contaminate it. So that's part of what I mean when I'm talking about you got to be very thorough with your sanitization. I can't sterilize this environment. It would pretty much be impossible. So I have to at least be as sanitized as possible. And if you do want to get in this hobby, you're going to go through a lot of paper towels. I've gone through so many, in fact, I don't know if I have any out here. That's okay. I brought a, wait, no, here we go. I brought a roll of toilet paper out here earlier because it's pretty cold, or at least it has been this past couple of weeks. So I've been, didn't have any Kleenex, so I just brought out toilet paper. But I noticed this. So even though I've already cleaned this once before, it was out there under my canopy. So I want to go back and clean it again now that I have it in the farm. So that's exactly what I'm about to do. Yeah. That's where our alcohol comes in. Basically just gonna rinse it in isopropanol. Don't be shy with the isopropanol. Don't be afraid to use a lot of it. And it's really cheap, so shouldn't have a problem using a lot of it. You can use 73% isopropanol, but the Walmart by my house had the same bottles here on sale, I guess. It might not have been sale, but they were $1 a piece. So I grabbed like 10 of them, and that was almost a year ago, and I'm still working through them. So I use a good bit of it, but not so much that it becomes expensive, And same goes for peroxide. A bottle the same size, 3% hydrogen peroxide, $1 a piece. And, it can help keep a clean environment. So I recommend investing in it. So let's continue. These inflatable tubs are really good. I like them a lot. I invested in a bunch of just plastic containers because they're cheaper and they work just fine. But I have had really, really good harvest and fruits from these inflatable monotubs. I'm going to get the outside as well. Getting all the creases. Contamination can hide everywhere. This job will make you, or hobby, can make you feel like a hypochondriac or a, germaphobe, which I already kind of am. So I go a little bit extra step, and even then, still get contaminations. I'm even going to clean the bottom. Why not? It's just going to get dirty again when I turn it back over, but we're here. Might as well, right? These little plugs, you put these in when you're while you're waiting for the mushroom cake or the monotub, whatever you want to however you want to describe. You put the solid plugs in whenever you don't want it to get oxygen, so that the mycelium will grow faster. The low oxygen environment encourages mycelium growth because in nature it's trying to get up to the surface and get more oxygen, because mushrooms and mycelium, like us, breathes oxygen and breathes out CO2. And I think that's really freaking cool. But so whenever you put it in a low oxygen environment, like underground, it starts trying to grow up to get to the surface so it can breathe. And if you simulate that in a tub, it's going to do the same thing and it'll grow faster. And after a month, maybe 2 months, just depending on the strain and the growth and everything else, I'll put microspore filters in there, in the holes. Dropped a couple of the plugs. You do want to clean these as well. Telling you, don't be shy with alcohol. Just making sure that the surface area of all the plugs get some alcohol on them. And now that I've made sure of that, I can put them in the tub where they would ideally stay clean. I forgot you guys were there. I got lost in thought. Okay. So, now that I have this tub nice and clean, I'll wipe the alcohol out of it. It evaporates pretty quick. I mean, it is alcohol. But I'll give it a swipe with a wipe down. There's going to be enough mycelium in here that even if some of it did touch the alcohol on the bottom, it wouldn't destroy the tub, you know? It wouldn't ruin the flush, but why risk it, right? So I'm going to put a layer of substrate down before I put any mycelium in it. These are my ultra special spatulas that I use for this. I am gonna clean them just like everything else. So you've probably seen how in a lot of my other tubs, I've been building mounds or like hills, or in like in that one's case, attempted to make a mountain. I'm not going to do that in this one. The hills are something I've just been experimenting with lately. I haven't been experimenting with it long enough to have anything fruit yet. It should fruit just fine, but I just want to see the difference in yields between the hill and just filling the tub like it's the ground. And you will see that right now, and it's way quicker to do it this way as well, because whenever I make the hills, I'll go through and like, you know, tighten everything up so it's nice and secure. I've got a bunch of alcohol here on the table. If you're wondering why I'm hinting this and then hinting this. I think I'll start with, this one looks more like a shovel, right? This one is a scoop. So this is more of the what I use to chisel. You want to make sure that your substrate isn't retaining too much moisture, and what it's called is checking the field capacity. So you can just grab a handful of the substrate and you want to squeeze it. And if, like that, only a few drops come out, that means it's at field capacity, and that's right where you want it. When I first started and I was making my own substrate, I would way overhydrate it. And when I'd grab a handful and squeeze it, oh, just like that, but way worse. The field capacity of this, I could add some more vermiculite and some more cocoa coir. Vermiculite would probably take care of it just fine, but for the sake of this stream, I'll just squeeze the heck out of it before I put it in the tub. Let me reorient myself. Get this first layer in. Oh yeah, I gotta squeeze it, right? Let's see. if the field capacity was right, I could just scoop it out with this. But since it's not, I am going to have to squeeze a little bit of the moisture out of it. Learn from my mistakes, you know. I should take that advice, but looks like a lot of the moisture was retained at the top. Let me mix it up a little bit. Maybe that'll get it where it needs to be. Another reason you want to wear gloves is because you'll get stuff all over your hands and under your fingernails, and that's just annoying. It's all clean. It's not like it's gross, but it's annoying. Let's see. I got a bad feeling. I think it's going to be worse somehow. Let's see. No, it's about the same. It just felt pretty cool to the touch. So I thought it had more moisture. There it is. That's enough for my first layer. I'm just pushing it down, getting everything even. You know what? I do need more actually. A little bit more. I gotta quit smoking. For nothing else, these live streams, because I am not coughing but clearing my throat constantly. And it's because I smoke. I know why it is. And I'm smoking roll your owns, which I don't use filters with. I use tips, but they're not really filters. So that doesn't help anything. But filters on cigarettes are kind of meaningless in the first place. Like, so I think, I could be wrong, of course. I don't like making any kind of definitive statements, but I'm pretty sure, you know, they really don't do anything. And I'm pretty sure, like, Marlboro Lights and Marlboro Ultralights aerate the smoke more as it's going into your lung, causing it to be more carcinogenic. So it's like the light cigarettes are the worst ones. So, but you can fact check me on that. I could be oh so wrong. Now that we have the first layer of substrate in there, I'm going to open the grain jar. I have not opened this thing yet. It has been, I want to say, 2 to 3 weeks. It colonized pretty quick. It's the drippy corn. Shout out to the Philly teacher. He's great. Check out his YouTube channel. I got my start watching him, specifically the Broke Boy Method YouTube playlist. You should go check it out. Let me take off this glove. There we go. the smell of the grain jars when you first open them after they've colonized. It's a earthy smell. It's like kind of like dirt, but not really. It just smells like earth. I don't know how else to describe it, and I love it. It's a great smell. When you sterilize the grain jars, you do it in a pressure cooker, so the lid does get really on there, like really pressurized on there. Look at, there's mycelium growing on the top of this lid. This stuff was begging to get out of that jar. Well, I'm here for you, man. I'm gonna get you out. You know, it's probably more of a they, so I'm going to get them out. Throw away these gloves. That's one of the only things I don't like about this, is that you go through a lot of plastics and waste and things like that, and I don't really like that part of it, but it's just part of it, you know? But I do try to minimize waste, and I try to use everything to its, you know, fullest extent. Got substrate all over my shirt. Looks like I got a viewer. Hello, viewer. How's it going tonight? Is it you, Ryan? Are you back with me? Very good. I'm gonna sanitize the sanitized gloves. Like I've said, sterilization, sanitation are really the names of the game. If you can't keep your environment reasonably clean, you're going to fail. Like, just you are. And you can see my environment. It's not perfect. It's not the cleanest environment. So that's why I made sure to say reasonably clean. Like this is the minimum. I would straight up say this is the minimum. So just take that into consideration. It's all very doable, like I've said, but you do have to take precautions. More sanitizer. Get it up my arm again. Pull my shirt back up. Your clothes are really bad contaminizers because the cloth, things like mold spores or other mycelium mushroom spores or yeast spores or just germs or whatever, it just clings to your clothes. So when you're here doing this, if your sleeves are down and they're not sanitized, just all of that shit falls into your substrate, into your mycelium. So you really need to have that in mind and be thinking of that from as many different angles as you can. Like, what little ways can contamination get in there? You got to think about it. You got to be 2 steps ahead of the contamination. It's you versus them. And we can't let them win. Because we're Team Mushroom. They're Team Germ. So we're going to win. We have to. Otherwise, my business won't be successful. So now I break up the grain jar and start dispensing it in the monotub. I like to use wooden spoons. I've had the best luck with just simple kitchen wooden spoons. They're great. And I am going to sanitize this as well. More alcohol. This stuff is so good. I just cup my hand so I can pour alcohol in it on top of whatever tool I'm using and just kind of, you know what it looks like. Okay, that's the best way to sanitize something really quick. That should be enough. Yeah, it smells good. It is just, with the spoon up there, it smells like alcohol. But just by itself, it's like earthy. I don't know how else to describe it really. It's like the dirt, but better. It's like premium dirt, man. So you don't have to be gentle with it. You're not going to hurt it. Once it's to this point, it's healthy, it's going. Just don't put it in a blender and it should be fine. So I go for it, Stir it up. Turn the paddle side over. And since I do my monotubs in layers, I just break up the top layer first and I'll pour it out into here on top of the substrate. And I'll see if I can't get an angle where you guys can see it. But last time I moved my phone while I was doing a live stream, I turned it to the side and it's like the stream cut out for a minute and then the audio was muted for the rest of the stream, and I really, really don't want to repeat that mistake. Thankfully on the last stream where I did do that, it was like just the last 5 minutes of an hour-long stream, so it's not that bad, but I don't want to do it again, of course. So let me see if I can get an angle. Go up a little bit, come down. Okay, and I can move the tub. This tub is it's inflatable, so it's super light and you can just move it around no problem. But you can see that's the first layer. I like to push the grains down into the substrate, kind of like you're planting a seed. Just mat it down there. You don't have to be too gentle, but there's no reason to be rough with it either. Just do what feels right. So that's the first layer. Let's do another layer. I think it should be okay for me to do this. Let's check. Yeah. I just needed to mix it up a little bit so the vermiculite would absorb the excess moisture in there. Vermiculite is your best friend. It wouldn't have ruined my substrate if it was too much moisture. As long as I would have taken it out, pulled out a handful and gave it a good squeeze to squeeze out the excess water. But you don't want to be doing that all day. You want to just shovel it out. So be cautious whenever you're pasteurizing your substrate. Because vermiculite, it's not expensive, but you don't want to spend more money than you have to, so why not just measure, measure your substrate and your water and your vermiculite and the ginseng. I just pour it in there. I don't measure it, but everything else I try to keep measured. But then why was there too much moisture in that bucket, Cody? I hear you saying. I don't have a good answer for you. It happens, man. Just a little bit more. See how much faster that was than that first layer that I was having to squeeze out the... Oh man. Hope it didn't get muted. If anyone's watching, I see one person's there. Can you hear me? Please say you can. But see, got the second layer on there. Ooh, is this going to say stay? No. Too much of an angle. I haven't mastered the microphone stand camera mount yet. There we go. I think it's good. Okay, we can continue now. So I got the second layer down. So now I'm going to put more mycelium. It looks like I'm going to have 3 layers of mycelium. So I'm going to break it up to about right there and put that on top. And then I'm going to cover it, put the last layer down, and then I'm going to put the last layer, a thinner layer, just like a topping almost, of substrate on the last layer of mycelium and grain. And then I'm going to put a lid on it, and I'm going to put it on the shelf, and it's going to sit there for at least a month before I open it back up again. And hopefully you'll be here with me whenever I do that. You'll get to watch the whole process. And in the future, I'm going to do videos of me inoculating grain jars. So that is like the whole process is coming to my YouTube channel, and I want to live stream all of it. I want to do this with everybody. I want it to be something we all have fun with, and you know what I mean. I want to build a YouTube community, and it's mainly my friends and family here, so it's already people in my community, and I'm just trying to grow it and, bring something positive to everybody. So please, everybody who's watching this, please subscribe and please join me for this mycelium journey. I'd really appreciate it. Some of the popcorn fell to the sides, so I am going to scrape that over more towards the middle. I'm going to scrape it into the substrate, kind of underneath it. So whenever I'm, pouring the grains out for another layer of the substrate or for the monotub, if grains fall down to the sides of the tub, it doesn't bother me. Because, like I said, I'm going to just scoop those grains underneath the substrate. So it's like, cool. The more that fall to the sides, the better. Alright, that's the second layer. Move this over. It's like a nice chunk of mycelium. You can see a really good example of how it grows together and like kind of glues the grains together. You see what I mean? And it smells so good. I love it. Just need a little bit more. This is going to be the last layer of mycelium, and it's already getting pretty big. I'm not going to mess with that right now. But you can see how much I have left. I could probably get 2 more layers out of this, but I do want to finish up this stream because I got to go cook dinner. I did feed Darcy when I went in a minute ago, so I also need to take her outside and let her do her thing. But I do want to get this done, and I'm not going to rush it. Whenever I start rushing anything, I basically just destroy whatever it is I was trying to do. Something I had to kind of accommodate for throughout my life. Whenever I can feel myself getting in a hurry, I have to really stop myself and be like, slow down. It's no hurry. You're not on the clock. You know, there's no expectation here. That took a long time. It's like to my 30s before I really started to get a handle on it. I'm sorry, but this mycelium, it's just so beautiful. I love looking at it. You want to know how much I love looking at it? Let me show you. I got this Craftsman magnifying glass, and I got this battery here for it. And it has a light on it. So whenever the mycelium is collimating a jar, or there's just something funny looking in a tub, or something just looks cool and I want to get a closer look, I'll break out this magnifying glass, and so I can really get in there and see what's up. I started with this magnifying glass, but it doesn't have a light on it. So I got this magnifying glass. But I don't need them right now, so I'll put them to the side. And there's another magnifying glass on North Spore's website. that I really want, but I can't justify it. Like, even with the sale, when I got all of this stuff, is like, I got a magnifying glass. I don't need this one, but man, I wanted it bad. I settled on the knife that I showed earlier because I can act like I don't have a forging knife. I got knives out the wazoo, but I did like that that one had the brush on it and the way the blade was curved. So I was able to justify that. But like I said, I got magnifying glasses. I don't need another one, even though I really, really want it. So maybe in the future, if Hyphaenation really takes off, you'll see me here with that. It's a little ring magnifying glass with the LED. It's like a 10 times magnification. One day you might see me here with that little thing. And that's only going to happen if I actually make money off of my company, Hyphaenation. So it'll be a sign of success. And if you see it within the next month or two, it means I broke and I gave in to the impulse buy. And please call me out and make sure the people know. And be like, don't let him get away with that. Cody said he doesn't need that magnifying glass, and he went out and got it anyways. So, keep me honest. It's on you, people. It's on you, YouTube. Not on me. I'm joking, by the way. Man, still. I mean, it's a good thing. Let's see. As you can see, this shed is insulated, and I have 2 space heaters in here and a humidifier, so it's getting a little bit stuffy. So I'm going to have to account for that in the future. But tonight, I just want to get this one done so I can go cool off and cook some dinner. Sometimes when there's just like 1 or 2 grains left in the jar stuck on the wall, I'll leave it there, and when I go to clean the jar for the next batch, I'll just grab that little mycelium covered grain. I'll just kind of poke it in the ground, like a seed. Like maybe something will grow. I don't know. It's worth a shot, right? The thing is, though, I forget where because it's just wherever I happen to feel like putting it, so I don't remember. But I think I'll notice a mushroom growing in my yard. I would think I would. This is the last layer of substrate. And let me know if the space heater is picking up too much, because I can switch to like a mic that'll clip on or something and cancel out that noise. So just let me know. like I said, the top layer, it doesn't have to be as thick as the layers underneath it. See, that's why the Lowe's ones are better. They close better. But this cake is done for right now. I'll probably do some prettying up to it later. Probably later on tonight after I get done with dinner. And after that, I'm going to slap a lid on it, make sure it stays sealed, make sure there's enough hydration in here, which I'm pretty sure there is because like earlier in the stream, I was having to really squeeze the substrate before I transferred it over here because it had too much moisture for what would be considered field capacity. So it should have enough moisture, but I was just, detailing more steps of the process. You don't really have to keep the top of the 5-gallon bucket clean. I mean, it's just your substrate. I don't know, I don't like seeing the dust on top of it. And at the end of every time I work in my station, I do go through and make sure I get everything nice and clean because when I come back to work, I don't want to come back to a dirty workstation. So I make sure to take care of that before I call it quits for the night. I always spill substrate around the 5-gallon bucket, and it probably would be safe to just throw back in the bucket, like it probably didn't pick up any contaminations in that time that it was on the table. But why risk it? It's substrate. Look, it's not that much, So I've been able to rationalize it to myself, which I don't really need to. I don't think it's in any guide that is like, make sure you don't waste any substrate. But, the first few times I did this, I was like, oh, I'm wasting so much. It's like, that costs less than a penny. What are you talking about? So, but like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I don't like to waste stuff. I try to waste as little bit as possible. You have to waste stuff. It's just part of life. It's part of being alive. But if I can minimize it, I do try to. And I have a cordless vacuum, pretty much the same style as a Dyson. It's not a Dyson because Dysons are insanely expensive, but I also bought that specifically for the shed because you can't see it now, but substrate does get down there as well, and I just want my work environment to be presentable and whenever my workstation gets more cluttered, it kind of makes me nervous, I guess, or anxious would be better, and which causes me to get in a hurry, which is when I start making mistakes. So I've learned to take care of those problems before they happen. Okay, I think that's good enough for right now. I need to take out this trash. But I'll do that off camera. Oh, there's the peroxide. I knew it was around here somewhere. Very useful because it's not going to hurt your mycelium. It's 3%, and as long as you mix it equal parts distilled water, it's not going to hurt your mycelium. And some of the healthiest and largest mushrooms I've ever harvested, I was using the peroxide and water in a mister to keep it moisturized and keep it clean. And I had one mushroom that it was so crazy, it just would not stop growing. It was growing for like 3 weeks, and I'm not joking. Usually when a cake starts to fruit and a mushroom starts to grow, it takes maybe 3 days at most. Sometimes it can grow in 24 hours and be ready to harvest. But this mushroom, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And whenever it was finally ready to harvest, and I weighed it, its wet weight was 167 grams. Seriously. And whenever I dehydrated it, it's 11 grams dry. Just one solid mushroom, 11 grams. And I got it put in a mason jar with a one of those little silicone packets that keeps things dry because I want to keep that mushroom. It looks really cool. Maybe I can show off some pictures of that mushroom because I documented it very thoroughly because I thought it was just so amazing. And it was such a beautiful mushroom. I can't remember the name of the strain, but the mushroom cap looked wavy. It was so unique and it was so cool. And hopefully I can grow some more stuff like that for everybody to watch here on YouTube. But for now, I'm going to wrap up this stream. I know I've seen someone here with me for a while. I appreciate you being here. It really, really means a lot to me. And there's going to be more of this. I'm going to keep the mushroom farm content coming. And I also put out lots of shorts of me and Darcy, my corgi, playing. And I'm going to start live streaming me and her just hanging out and having fun, you know? So, me, the corgi, the mushrooms, I got everything. You should subscribe. Whoever's watching, you might already be subscribed, but if you're not, you know what to do. But until then, it's been fun.